All right, well, it's my great pleasure to introduce Siobhan from Barnabas Aid. She's going to give a presentation tonight on the persecuted church. So let's listen carefully so we can learn more about the persecuted church worldwide and how we can be in prayer for them. And thank you, Siobhan. Can you give your hand?
No, thank you so much, guys. I honestly feel so blessed and honored to have the opportunity to come share with you guys. And just all of you who've taken the time on a beautiful Sunday to come and together, I feel really blessed to enter into this beautiful space of community. So my name is Siobhan O'Neill, and a little bit of background, I originally studied medicine, took a gap year, and ended up bumping into the CEO of Barnabas Aid at a little church, and she offered me an internship that has now turned into a role. So that has been such a blessing, and I've been with them a year. So I'm really excited to share more about the heart of Barnabas Aid and how we're working to unite together against persecution. But before I get started, we've got a little activity, and it's so awesome that you guys brought all your Bibles and we were able to read from Proverbs, because we're going to do a Bible race. If any of you guys have done this back in youth or any games, we're going to do a Bible race. So so how many people have their Bibles here? And how many people have Bibles on their phone or other way? Just one? Okay, because we can either do Bibles versus phone, racing to see who gets it first, or we can do kids versus adults, because we have enough kids and we have enough adults. So I think we'll do kids versus adults just to make it a bit more thing. So we've got a few Bible verses, and the first one that we're going to race to find, just put your hand up once you've found it, and then you can either read it, or if you don't want to read it out, you can say pass and I'll read it out. So our first Bible verse is found in Hebrews 10, verse 23 and 25.
Yep.
Wow. We had a minute here.
Yes.
Hebrews 10, 23 and 25. Would you like to read it out for us, Daniel?
Okay. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Beautiful.
Thank you, Daniel. So I just wanted to start with this verse as it calls about spurring one another on to do good works and to do good deeds. So thank you for reading that out. So we've got one to the adults, so one to the youth. We've got to bring it back. All right, our second verse, we've got Matthew 5, verses 10 to 12. Yes! We've got one here. We've got one here. Matthew 5. I saw this hand first. Over to you. Matthew 5, 10 to 12. Would you like to read it out?
Harris family.
Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So we've got one to adults, one to kids, and I thought that was just a beautiful scripture as we come into uniting against persecuted church. As the Bible shares with us how as Christians we can suffer persecution because of our faith, and it's just a good reminder. So our third Bible verse is 2 Corinthians 12, verse 10. 2 Corinthians, have you found it? Oh, keep going. Okay, put your hand up. Yep. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 10.
That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, and hardships, in persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
That was awesome. Thank you. 2 to the youth. This is going good. Going good. All right. So I delight in my weakness. And when it ends, it says, for when I am weak, I am strong. I think this is such a really good reminder of where our strength comes from. And that is a beautiful reminder. All right. For our first scripture, we have got Romans 8, 35 to 37. Romans 8.
What if you know it off by heart? Can you just put your hand up?
Hey, yeah, if you know it off by heart.
I don't.
That sounds like a bonus to me if you know it. Yep, down the back.
Where was it?
Romans 8, 35 to 37. Yes.
He's got it. No, you got it? You got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Have you got it? Romans 8, 35 to 37.
For your sake we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter.
35.
35?
Yeah, Romans 8, 35 to 37.
35 to 37.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are killed all day long, as accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Yet in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us.
Yeah, powerful. Thank you. I think that's such a powerful verse, that we're more than conquerors through Christ who gives us strength, and just reminds us how much power and strength that we have through Christ. So thank you. So we've got 2:2. This is our final verse, and so we're going to see who's going to take the win tonight. Is it the youth or is it the adults? Are you ready? Our final verse is Galatians 6, verse 10. Oh, right here! Nice!
Pretty quick there.
So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith.
Beautiful. Thank you. So that's a big one for the youth. Thank you, guys.
How can we beat the Harris family? Quicker than Google.
That's impressive.
Satellite broadband, they're quicker than satellite.
Yeah, I know. Maybe next time when I come back, you can get your Bible speed ready. Alrighty. Thank you so much for reading that verse out. I wanted to end with this verse because it is our founding scripture. And as it says, therefore, let us do good unto all people, but especially to those in the family of faith. So, this is our founding scripture, and this is because Christianity in the world today is actually one of the most persecuted and harassed religions and faith groups in the world, where 1 in 10 Christians will suffer persecution simply because of your faith. And I know we don't see a lot of that persecution here in New Zealand. So the goal of tonight is for me to help to bring awareness to the persecution that goes on to many Christians around the world, all our ages, because they love Jesus. So whether this is your first time hearing about it or you know a lot about it, I hope that you are encouraged tonight. And Barnabas 8 specifically helps persecuted Christians because it is the Christians in places where there's disaster. Generally, Christians are left to the last in the line. They're left to the lowest of the low, and they're rejected from governmental aid, or they're rejected from food support. So our heart of Barnabas is to fill that void and specifically help those suffering Christians where no one else is being able to reach them and help them. And we get our name Barnabas from the character in the Bible, Barnabas in Acts. And Barnabas means son of encouragement. So that's what we exist to do, to bring hope and practical aid to suffering Christians, to encourage them in their faith. And one other thing that makes us different from other ministries and humanitarian agencies is that we don't send missionaries. Instead, we partner with the locals, with pre-existing organizations on the ground so that they know the core language, they know the culture, and this way we equip the locals to bring more of a sustainable and long-term help and change. So what we do, we have 12 main categories, which you can see on the screen, and as I go throughout tonight, I'll be sharing different stories and testimonies from each of you, and unpacking more of these projects and how we're helping. Now, last year, we had 344 projects in 57 different countries. So that's almost equivalent to one new project every day. So there's a lot of different projects and a lot of different needs across the globe. And this is just a photo of a map that shows you all the blue is where we're helping suffering Christians across the globe. So as I go through today, we're going to do a little country quiz. So I'm going to show you a flag of a country, and it is up to you guys to guess what country it is. If you know it, you can just call it out, and then I'll share a story with you guys. So for our first country, can anyone know what this country is? Yes?
India.
Nice, very good. So this is India. And in India, they have many religions, but their main religion is Hinduism, especially in the rural parts of India. So in rural parts of India, it is the woman's role to go collect the water. And so these women have to go out and collect water in the hottest part of the day, because in the evening when the other women go, these other women won't help the Christian women, and they won't let them draw out water because of their faith. So these women have to go in the hottest part of the day through like 5 miles of walking just to carry heavy water back to their village, to be able to help their village. Now, we hear stories of many rural villages that are Christian little villages where they would have walked. It would have been a tough day. Like today, super hot. You've had a full day of work, and you go to fill it with water, and you're tired and you're exhausted. You get to the well, and you find there's a dead carcass in the well. And this is because you find out that your neighboring village, who isn't Christian, has contaminated your water simply because of your faith. So you're thirsty, and you have to go back to your village without any water. You're then left to go walk and to find even more miles to go find a place where you can have water in a village that will accept you to take their water while your water well is not contaminated. So in places like this, we have water projects where we have Navy clay filters, we have purification processes that we're able to send over so they can still have water while we help them build another well and water tanks and water pumps. So that is some projects that we're able to do. Can anyone guess what this country is? Yes. Sure? Myanmar, yes, nice. So Myanmar is a military-controlled government who has brutally oppressed Christians for a very long time, where many Christians have suffered from torture and from their villages being attacked. So I have one testimony and a story to share from Hema. So this is Hema and her husband and her 2 kids. And Hema wrote to us, and her village was attacked by the military and so she was left to escape her home. And she wrote to us and said, every day and night, the military just fire heavy weapons, and they bombard our village. They even send aircrafts and drop bombs on our village. And the worst thing is, our soldiers entered our village and burnt down all our houses. We were so sad that all our belongings in our house were burnt down by the military. So Hema was one of many who her and her family had to escape suddenly from their village in order to save their lives. And what they did is they arrived to an internally displaced camp, or an IDP camp, where people can go when their homes have been destroyed. And you'd think that after they've just lost everything, they finally made it to this camp, that they would have time to grieve their losses and to get help. But once they got to this IDP camp, they found out that the people around them, because they were found out that they were Christian, had burnt down their shacks. They'd taken their food rations and taken their stuff. So they came here with nothing, and they lost even more. And this is just a heartbreaking story. And here, what Barnabas does is we work hard to send over aid to these places. We work through our local project workers who are on the land, and through that we're able to send over basic needs like food, like tarpaulins and cooking gear to help these families. And it's not always easy because they're in very remote places, that sometimes it takes several road trips and a four-wheel drive or an oxen cart just to get the aid to them. But it is important to us because no one else is able to help these people. So thankfully we're able to do that with our project workers. This is just another photo of a grandma named Haya and her grandchildren. And I just think this is crazy that even grandparents at old ages, they have to escape to protect their grandkids in order to be able to survive. So this is another family that we were able to help. We set up, this is a photo of a jungle camp, safe haven that we set up in the jungle for a village that had been attacked, just to deliver aid through at one stage. So I want us to just take a moment I want you to imagine having to escape from your home being destroyed and how that might feel. And I want you to think about if we had 2 doors here today, and you had one door on your left that said if you were to walk through it, you had an 80% chance that you would go through what Ahima and Haya went through, of losing everything. Just because if you walk through that door, you will commit to being a Christian, and you know there's an 80% chance that you could lose everything. Would you be able to walk through the door on the left? Or would you walk through the door on the right, where you would have to deny your faith and say, no, I'm not Christian, but it means that you can go home and you lose none of your materialistic things. And I know we are blessed in a country where we have materialistic things like a home and a safe place and cars. So it's a challenging question, but I just want you to think about that, of what door you would choose. So with your partners around you and beside you, I'll just give you a minute or so to kind of think about that.
We're going to choose door number 1. You lose all your stuff. 80%. Oh, the other one. Yeah. It's pretty hardcore to think about it. Like suddenly I've got this choice to make. Do I just give up everything? Or do I deny my faith?
All right, thank you guys. I just think it's quite a challenging question, but such an awesome question to think about, how these families all have chosen that left door, where their percentage is a lot higher in places like Myanmar, where they know that the likelihood of being a Christian is going to take daily sacrifice. And yet, the fact that they still choose to be Christian, I think is such an encouraging thing, that they see the hope in God, and they put their strength and their hope in God and in the promise of salvation, that they can sacrifice materialistic things, and they can sacrifice living a life here on earth for Christ, and knowing that they might go through suffering. And that's why I feel so inspired that Barnabas is able to encourage these Christians, that I think we too can be encouraged back. Can anyone know what this country is?
Nigeria.
Yeah, very good. Nice. You guys are good. Got some good geography people in here. So in Nigeria, thousands of Christians have been displaced from over, in the last year, 150 different villages. Just like in Myanmar, except not from the military, but by Islamic extremists. Christianity is, again, a minority in Nigeria, and Christians are quite often looked down upon. And this is a quote from Abraham, a father who had been without a home. We've been without a home for nearly 10 years. So Abraham and his family also lived in an IDP camp, in an internally displaced people camp for nearly 10 years, and they weren't able to get a home because their village also had been attacked by Islamic extremists, and for 10 years they were unable to get another home or a safe place to live, and no one was able to help them. Everyone rejected them help and a better paying job in order to provide a home. So for almost 10 years they lived in a tent. And I know here we might love tenting because we know we can come home whenever, and we have the luxuries of good equipment. But this family lived there for 10 years, and not only that, they had to look after 3 orphans who their parents they lost in their village attack. So Abraham and his wife looked after his kids and 3 others. So what we have been able to do in places, this is just a photo of one village that had been destroyed, that our project partner took. And what Barnabas Aid has been able to do is we are in the process right now of rebuilding 7 of those villages, which is roughly 150 to 350 homes. And I know that might not sound a lot, but Abraham is one of those families who now has a safe house and a safe place to be able to call home and to invite other people around. And we're still continuing to build those homes. And so that's almost 350 families who are going to be able to have a home again, which is a beautiful thing. So that is in Nigeria. And this is quite an incredible quote from one of the village pastors. And it says, "We have experienced the killing of women and children. the destruction of our villages with the aim of wiping us out because we are Christian. But we have also experienced love from Barnabas. Brothers and sisters who are far away continue to put us in their prayers and send food and material to us. What more can we ask? Another pastor said, Barnabas has wiped the tears from our eyes. And I think this is beautiful because they have seen so much hurt. They've seen so much pain and suffering. But Barnabas has been able to be a channel of blessing. And we've been able to help our brothers and sisters overseas who have no one. We're quite blessed in a place in New Zealand when we go through hardship. We have family around us to support us. So in that way, Barnabas is kind of like that family to those Christians overseas who are suffering. Does anyone know what this country is?
Egypt.
Yeah, very good. So in Egypt, we have a lot of, one thing that is important to us is self-sustainability. So we have a lot of projects where we help start up small businesses. And does anyone know, can anyone finish the quote for me? It says, give a man a fish. Does anyone know the rest of the quote?
Look for a guy or something. Teach him how to fish, he'll live forever.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that. So we've got give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime. So yeah, Barnabas really believes in the benefit of self-sustainability. So Christians who are persecuted or despised, if we can help them through small businesses in one way, so that they can be self-sustained and they don't have to rely on a community and who will take advantage of them because of their faith, so that they can look after their families and have their faith and be self-sustained. It's something we believe in. So in Egypt, we have a lot of projects for widows who have lost their husbands, and in that culture, it is general for because they are a woman, they don't have the right to be able to marry again, which means that they don't get to be provided for and they don't get to be protected. So what Barnabas does to combat this is we train them up in different things, in vocational and numeracy literacy training. And this is a photo of a group of women that we trained up in sewing, so they could start their own small business in sewing. And not only did we do this, but we created community for them, where they have Bible studies where they can come together and they can have a community with other women so they can strengthen each other. So they are not targeted. And we're able to send more support and aid to them. This is...
Siobhan.
Sorry, before I forget, is it official government that Christian widows cannot remarry?
You know, I would have to fact check that, but it's just a general, if it's official government, I'm not sure, but in their culture, culturally wise, it's looked down, they're not allowed to be able to remarry, or it's despised, because if their husband dies. And it's the husband who provides the income and the protection, and that whole women and men, yeah, they become more of a target when they don't have a husband. Sorry, that doesn't fully answer your question, but I would have to fact check that.
I don't know, I can do it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for asking. If anyone has a question, just put your hand up and at any stage, and I'll do my best if I can answer it. So this is another photo of Mary, and she wrote and said, "To be a widow in such a gruesome and public way was not easy for me as a woman, and even more so as the pastor's wife, whose husband was killed by Barak Aram. Since the death of Lauren, we have not been safe, and we do not feel safe, and the children are trying to cope." So her husband was kidnapped as a pastor by Barak Aram in Nigeria, and 18 days later he was murdered. And again, because she was a woman and a pastor's wife, she was rejected from any aid, and she was left alone. So what Barnabas was able to do is we sent her financial support and helped her kids to continue to be able to go to school. In that way, just to encourage her. And she went on to say, "Barnabas Fund has been there right from the beginning, praying, and you have practically supported us. How I am grateful," said Mary. And this just reminds me of the scripture in 1 Timothy 5:1, where it talks about how we are to treat one another with kindness with absolute purity, and it goes on in 3 and 5 to say, to give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. And the widow who's really in need and left all alone puts her hope in God and continues to pray day and night for God to help. So we really see this, and it's been incredible to see how Barnabas has been a channel through that. Through her prayers, we've been able to support her and bring that practical aid. Does anyone know? Yes. Pakistan? Yeah, good job. Nice work. So in Pakistan, many Christians are, because of their faith, left to the lowest paying and most dangerous jobs. They're excluded from better paying jobs and left to the most dangerous. And one of these jobs is a brick kiln. And in the brick kiln, these brick kiln workers work 12-hour days plus in the absolute heat of the day, and they have to work by furnaces because they're building bricks all day long. And these brick kiln workers are paid a very, very low wage. And if something goes wrong, they have to take out, and they don't have enough money, if it's a medical need or something else, and they don't have enough money, they can take a loan out from their brick kiln owners. But then, the loan is then deducted from their wages and charged at an increasing high interest rate. So that means that every paycheck they have to pay back this loan with an increasing interest, which makes it virtually impossible for them to escape. They then become bonded to the brick kiln. They're unable to leave and to get another job. And if they're unable to pay it off, it's passed on to their children and the next generation. So they too are bonded to the brick kiln.
Slavery.
And it's a modern form of slavery. And this is a photo of a young girl that I found quite impacting when I first started working when I saw this. And that's because this is a young girl and she was playing with clay all day. And this is because she would have been mimicking what she saw around her, which would have been her parents and her brothers and sisters building bricks all day. And the sad reality is this would have been her future. She would have had to pay off her family's debt. She would have missed out on an education and pursuing something that she loved. But thankfully, since Barnabas started this project in 2017, we have been able to free 1,575 families from the brick kiln. And one of those families was hers. As you can see, this is some of her that's her parents and her one other sibling in that photo above. And the really cool thing is that when we were able to set her family free, and just to note, the loans will range from $250 New Zealand dollars to like $3,000 New Zealand dollars, and that can change, but that's the range at the moment. And I think it's crazy to think that $3,000 at the max is the highest loan right now. That is something that a family cannot pay off over a lifetime, and that really just shows how low their wages are that they have to survive on. But incredible at how easily it is that we're able to free these families. So what's really cool is this family and many other families, when they had been freed, they were so grateful that they wanted to put a little bit aside, what they could, to help free another family. So many families that we helped free put aside a tiny, tiny bit of their wages, slowly over time, so that they too could set another family free, where they too have been able to free other families. And not only do we do this, but we do education projects, which is very important. And we're currently supporting 140 Christian schools, and 10 of these schools have just been finished being built in Pakistan this year, where we're able to bring safe education for these Christians, because many places, Christians who have the opportunity to go to school, we've heard many stories of when they've come to their final exams, their teachers have failed them, even though they might be the best in the class, but because of their Christian faith, their teachers will fail them so they cannot continue to study, so that they too are left to the lowest paying jobs. So that is why education is so vital to break that a generational thing of illiteracy and poverty. So we've just had 10 schools built in New Zealand, and this is how many children are being supported right now, which has been really fun. And we also do training for the parents as well, so that they too are able to count and to gain that basic numeracy and illiteracy that they missed out on. We also do apprenticeship programs. So does anyone here like mechanics or building or trades? Alrighty, well, in places like Pakistan, we are able to support young adults who haven't had the opportunity because of their faith, again, to have a better paying job. We've found places that are able to train up young Christians in things like mechanics and building and sewing and carpentry and hairdressing and all the kind of trades. And now we've got 1,500 students supported in this way. This is a photo of Nixon, who is 19 years, and he missed out on school because his parents weren't able to provide for him to go to school. He was also disabled and suffered a lot of bullying and harassment because he was disabled and because of his faith. So to get a job for him was not looking promising. He prayed about it, talked to his pastor, who were able to get in contact with our Barnabas project workers, and now we've been able to train him up in mechanics, where he too one day wants to own his own company and help train other young Christian men. So this is just a photo of our class of graduates that we just had and that we've been able to support. So I just again want us to take a few moments to share with the people beside us what is one thing that you're grateful for here in New Zealand that we have the freedom to do. Whether it's your job or whether it's an experience, what is one thing you're grateful for that we have the freedom to do here in New Zealand? So I'll give you a minute to talk with the people beside you. All right, thank you guys. I hope you have a moment to share something of gratitude. Is there anything that anyone would like to share?
We were just saying that education opportunities for Christians are pretty much the same in New Zealand as they are for everyone else.
Wow.
You're generally not going to get failed being a Christian unless you tell your biology teacher that you believe in creation.
Wow. That's a very good point, actually. Thanks for bringing that up. Very good. All right, well, thank you guys. It's interesting. One other thing that we do is we've got medical projects, and in places like Pakistan, to prevent these brick kiln workers to have to go get a loan, is we support free medical care, where because they live quite rurally, we send out mobile health clinics. So we can send out, we can train up nurses and doctors, and we can send them into their own villages, and in this way give them medical support. We also do things and help with surgeries in places like Syria, where medical care has been quite hard through the wars. And this is part of our medical.youth project. Can anyone know what this country is?
Russia?
No.
Portugal?
No, not Portugal.
Bulgaria?
Oh, no.
Not Morocco?
No. It starts with M, and it is...
Moldavia.
Pardon? Mongolia? No. And it is the country where 70 species of lemurs are found nowhere else in the world. Lovely, good job. And what is the first thing that you think of when you hear Madagascar?
More.
Yeah.
More.
There you go. Madagascar, the movie. And I know when we think of Madagascar, and it's very easy to associate it with dancing animals and lemurs and tropical nature. But in reality, Madagascar is actually one of the poorest and most least developed countries in the world. where the whole country is suffering from a food shortage and famine. And Christians in Madagascar are then left to the lowest of the line, and they're seen as not as important. So any relief that does come in, it is held back from the Christians first. So these Christians are left to the poorest of even the poor, and they're left with no food. Where this is a photo of a grandma named Catherine, and she was eating and selling poisonous cactus because she had nothing else to eat. We have heard many villages where thousands and thousands are dying from starvation, where they haven't known where their next meal will be, where they've been eating tree bark out of desperation because they don't know when their next meal will be. This is another heartbreaking photo that wrecked me when I first saw this, because these kids shouldn't have to worry about when their next meal will be and to suffer from persecution because of their faith. But one thing that I'm left with hope for is what I want to share with you next, which is what Barnabas is doing to help combat malnutrition. So I'm going to share with you a testimony of a boy named Divine and how something called EPAP has helped him and his village. So does anyone want to guess what country he is from?
Switzerland?
No.
What's his name?
Divine.
Divine. Like Nigeria has an amazing name. Well, that Divine Christian might be the president.
It's in southern Africa, and it has the most official languages in the world. Zimbabwe! Yes! You're amazing! That's a very good guess. That's a hard one, Zimbabwe. Good job.
I saw it. I saw it on the film.
Oh, you're smart. You're very smart. Clever. So this is a photo of Divine in the middle with his two friends. So I would just let you watch this video as we hear his story.
I don't remember anything about my mother. I never saw her. I never knew her.
Eight-year-old Divine lives with his grandmother and two older brothers in a small village called Dewe in Zimbabwe. His parents died from AIDS soon after he was born.
It was really painful. I felt helpless as I was looking after my orphans without any support.
HIV is widespread in Zimbabwe. Every year there are more than 33,000 new cases in the country. Even though the government has taken measures when it comes to treatment through ARVs, most patients don't have the right nutrition to support the medication working in their bodies.
You've got to remember that HIV treatment is not just about medication. It's a three-legged pot. It's medication, it's lifestyle, and it's nutrition. If you don't have one of those three components, you're not effectively treating the condition.
Divine's grandmother is a farmer and makes an income of less than $3 per day, which means all they can afford to eat is wild okra and maize meal every single day. Divine loves to go to school and wants to become a soldier when he grows up, so he can defend his country and its people. But due to poor diet, he suffered from malnutrition. This made it impossible for him to concentrate in lessons because his brain was starved of vital nutrients. But even in this suffering, he is happy that he has his grandmother with him.
I'm not sad because my grandmother is taking very good care of me.
He has a strong faith in Jesus, and along with his grandmother, goes to the Fountain of Life Church in Dewe. This is one of the 35 churches that Barnabas 8 partners with in Zimbabwe. So when they heard about the need in Dewe, they set help. This is EPAP. It's an instant pre-cooked porridge that contains 24 essential micronutrients and 4 macronutrients to equip people with nutrient-dense food solutions necessary for healthy brain development, immune system functioning, and fighting infections. Our project partner Shelley says it's doing wonders in the lives of people, especially those suffering from hidden hunger.
Locally, they'll eat a meal that's a great big mound of maize meal porridge with a little bit of vegetables, and if they're lucky and can afford it, some protein. So now the tummy rumbles again and they eat again. Why are they hungry so quickly? Because the body is saying, we need the vitamins and minerals. We don't just need the tummy to be full, we need the body to be given all the tools, all the petrol it needs to work efficiently. And that's the tiny little vitamins and minerals. So hidden hunger refers to not belly hunger, it's almost like body hunger. So it's to give the basic and most essential vitamins and minerals to keep people healthy and functional.
Divine and his brothers love eating EPAP, and Divine says that he's regained the energy to go back to school.
I love EPUB. It helped me feel full and now have the energy to run to school.
The people of Delhi are so thankful to God for EPAP. It can be eaten by anyone over the age of 1, and babies are also benefiting from the nutrition in EPAP they receive through their mother's breast milk.
EPUB is so lovely. It has really helped us as a family very much. My grandson used to fall sick often, but now after eating EPUB, they are strong and they have energy to run around. I am so grateful.
So that's EPAP, and it has been an incredible method to help combat malnutrition, not only in Zimbabwe, but all countries across the Horn of Africa. We've been able to send it over to places like Madagascar, who have nothing at all. And our researchers have found that it takes 250 grams of EPAP to feed a family of 6, so that's 2 adults, 2 older kids, and 2 younger kids. That will give them the very, very bare minimum of what they need in order to survive and keep a baseline of health. And per person, for the adults, it costs 22 cents. And for a young kid under 6 years old, it would cost 5 cents a day to be able to provide them with the baseline level of EPAP they need. So, which is very cost efficient, where, so if you had $5, and if you think for a moment of how far $5 would take us here, and what we could spend it here in New Zealand, maybe it'd be a coffee, or a bag of lollies, or a couple apples. But for places in Madagascar and Zimbabwe, that would feed a child under 6 years for 3 months of food with the cost of EPAP. So this has been a really incredible, effective tool that I've been quite inspired by, because I've seen how it's made a difference. And it takes that 3 months to see a change in recovery. And you could even see in that video how much healthier Divine looked from the previous kids before. So food has been a really big and growing issue where the world is facing, where 828 million people are suffering from a lack of food and 50 million from famine. And so that is, researchers have found that every couple seconds, someone is dying from a lack of food, which is big stuff. So Barnabas is working quite heavily in food as well, and I'll go on to share another project. But before, I just want us to take another quick moment to think about, does anyone remember how much Divine's grandma made from the video? Yeah, less than $3 a day. So I just want you to take a moment to think with the person beside you, how you could live on $3 today, and how far $5 would get you. So I just want you to think about Divine and his story, and give you a moment to discuss with the person beside you.
How much is a Big Mac? It's like $13. How much is a Big Mac? How much is one Big Mac? So for 3 days a week.
I've had one in a while.
3.5 days a week.
Always $5.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you went to pay, so they get over.
All right, thank you guys. So as we continue to face the food shortages, one other project that we've created is our Food.Gives project, which we started in 2021. And this is a project where it's like an international food bank. So we have sent out boxes to different churches and different groups, and they've filled them up with specific food items where we have then been able to ship it over to countries. And this is something that we've used in disaster relief, like Tonga after their tsunamis, and Ukraine after their wars, but also for places where we can't actually send money or finances into a country. because of sanctions that are on the country. But we are able to send over aid. So this has been another outcome that we've been able to do. So this is a photo of Food.Kids in Zambia, and you can see these kids holding the boxes with specific food items. So right now, our next shipment is looking to head off in January and February, and it's going to go to Pakistan. And what our project partners have asked for in Pakistan is these 4 specific items. So we've got rice, lentils, split peas, salt, and sugar. And this is something that they're lacking, and 4 items that we've actually found cheaper to source in New Zealand, even though it has to be shipped all the way to Pakistan. It's cheaper to source here than it is in Pakistan. And they're things that they are a shortage of. And it's something for us that costs us $3 for a bag of rice and of lentils. And it's something as easy as going to the supermarket and just throwing in an extra bag of rice and lentils or salt. So this is something that we have been working towards. And since we started this project in 2021, if you can try and comprehend, we have been able to provide we've provided 71 million servings of food to countries across the globe, which is remarkable. These are the countries that we're sending to in pink, so all the countries we're helping. And in green are all the countries that is filling boxes. So you can see New Zealand is one of those countries that is helping to fill these boxes. And this is just a photo of what some youth groups have done, filling up some boxes, which has been really cool. And you can almost see some boxes have been decorated. So we've had some youth groups who have filled up these boxes and then they've painted scripture or wrote scripture inside of the box. And they've painted the box around them just as a little thing of encouragement. And this has been a really beautiful way that I've seen youth and young adults come together across New Zealand, from Auckland, Palmerston North, and Tauranga, and Wellington, and different countries that have united together and have been filling up these boxes, working towards sending a shipment to Pakistan. And I do have some boxes in my car. If this is something that you guys together as a church would like to do, is to take a couple boxes to fill up. I have the opportunity to do that tonight as well. So that would be really cool if you'd like to afterwards. And that just brings me to what we can do. After everything we've heard today, what can we do with all this knowledge? And I think the first thing is to continue to think about it, to continue to feel for our brothers and sisters overseas. Quite a lot of the time it's easy to be out of sight, out of mind. We don't see it a lot in the media, but if we can keep ourselves informed, and once we have knowledge, we're able to do something about it. Prayer is the biggest thing that we ask for as a ministry, is the power of prayer, because that unleashes God's power and heavenly resources, and there's so much power in prayer. So what we have is, on the back table I've got a few free resources that you're welcome to take, and one of those is Praying for the Persecuted Church. And it goes through not all 57, but a couple of the countries that we've helped in the last year, giving you a story from the country and then a little prayer that you can become more aware, more informed of. And in the middle of every magazine, you will find a prayer journal, which you'll find a prayer journal in the middle, which gives you a day-by-day thing that you can, day-by-day little paragraph that shows you what you can pray for. So it makes it easier praying for the persecuted church. So that's just on the back table, which you're welcome to grab as well.
Just wait back and forth.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you. The other thing that we can do is speak about it. As I have today been able to be a small voice of awareness, we all here have the power of bringing awareness to those around us and sharing stories with others so we can together unite together and help the persecuted church. You can give as the Lord leads, and you can share in one way, any way that God's put in your heart. I know we all here have different callings, and God speaks to our heart in different ways. So for some of you, God might be calling you to another ministry, and that's beautiful. But if this is something that God has put on your hearts and you would like to come and share in whichever way, you're welcome to do that. And you can be creative with that. We've had other groups who have been quite musical, and they've done a classical Christmas concert, and their funds, they were able to free a family from the brick kiln, which was beautiful. And we've had Christian surfers. They have filled up some food duckers boxes, and so one practical way today is to fill up some boxes. So I can always grab those boxes from my car, and you would have, like, we generally give a month. So we'll drop the boxes off here, and then we'll come and collect them in a month's time. And I've got some pamphlets at the back that show you exactly what you can put in the boxes. So if you'd like to take that, you're very welcome. If you'd like, you can grab some magazines from the back, and now we can just move into a time to connect. But if anyone has any questions, I'm welcome to open the floor up to questions. But again, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel, for all the work that you put in. I think it's beautiful that your church has got this Mission Week. Thank you guys for listening and participating. I hope you are not left burdened, but encouraged and inspired. And I just want to thank you for your time. But if anyone has any questions, I would love to try and answer them. Yes?
Can we just ask, I've heard of Open Doors in the UK. Is that quite similar to what you do?
Yeah, so we've got Open Doors and Voice of the Martyrs. We are three organizations or ministries that help the persecuted church. So we all do slightly different things, but we all work together with the persecuted church. But I'm not sure if it's Open Doors. They just looks a little bit different. So they might send missionaries over to a country, or we might have specific different countries. But yeah, we all do the same thing. We all have the same heart, really, just slightly different goals. Yeah, good question.
Is it called Barnabas Aid or Barnabas Fund? Or?
Yeah, so we were called Barnabas Fund, and then just this year we have changed our name to Barnabas Aid, because we not only send fund, but we also send aid with all our building projects and education and medical. We have people that donate good quality medical equipment, and then we ship that over to countries in need as well. So we've just switched it to aid. But our trading name is still Barnabas Fund.
So say our church had a couple of those boxes at the back there, so would individual families just raise their own money to buy their own rice or lentils or split peas? Or how do you suggest we do that?
What other churches have done is we've just left, or youth groups, we've just had the boxes here, and then one family can take a box or however many they want, or if one family can't do a whole box, then they can share a box, and basically they take a box home, they fill it up, and once they've filled it up, generally we give a 1 month time frame, then they have a month to fill it up, and then they bring it back to church. And there just has to be an available space or someone's home that is okay to hold the packed boxes up until the month till we can come pick it up. So we've had that. Otherwise, we've had some places who, like in the South Island, when instead they have just put in tubs, or however they wanted to collect it, they've just all brought together rice and dried lentils, and they've just sent up one big box, and then we'll put it into separate boxes. But the most general way is a family will take a box, fill it up, and then bring it back and store it here in the church. Yeah?
Can I also ask, are you guys able to access expired medications from pharmacies and hospitals and things like that as well to send over to?
We're not allowed to send over anything expired, just because it's harder to, if it's expired or past the best before date, it makes it a lot harder to get through the logistics or the biosecurity customs. But we have had some supporters who we personally haven't, in New Zealand, haven't had connection with hospitals, but we've had countries in Germany, because we're across the globe, that have actually done that, and hospitals have...
I've heard of that happening, but I don't know where they actually go, so I was just curious.
Yeah, okay, so not in New Zealand. We have an outright connection with a hospital that will give us some stuff, but we've had supporters who work in the medical system who, from their little clinics, they would donate a whole bunch of gear or medical equipment from their clinics. But otherwise, we've had big hospitals in Germany, and I think some other hospitals in Europe that have done that with our UK office and stuff, but not specifically New Zealand. Yeah. Yeah. But it'll be a good connection.
Do you accept automated payments and things, sort of
Automated payments?
donations?
Yeah.
So just so everyone knows, the box at the back there is the donations to Barnabas Fund Day, and pasted on the box is their general donations account. You can take a photo of that and send them funds as well.
Thank you, that's really cool. I also have little booklets if you want to, that have the details as well, if that's something you'd like to do. And I'll put that out the back as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Awesome, thank you guys. I'll be hanging around a bit after as well if you want to ask any more questions. Thank you.
Okay, let's give Siobhan a hand for producing the video.